There are an insane number of build guides on YouTube, so in this video I'm going to show you the 3 essential builds that are all a new player needs. I'm going to go through these builds and suggest updates very quickly because they are very simple and easy to put together. Probably the best all-round starter build is the Heartbreaker build. The Heartbreaker gear set's 4-piece bonus delivers great damage and survivability, with every hit adding 1% bonus armor and 1% weapon damage, up to a max of 50 stacks, which can be increased to 100 stacks with the chest piece, and the bonus armor to 2% per stack with the backpack. Bonus armor is increased by running more blue cores on the build. I've gone with 3 on the build being the right point for me to play very aggressively. Don't take either of the backpack or chest piece though, because you don't really need all that bonus armor for most content, and running a Seska chest piece with the talent Obliterate will deliver better returns on average due to the decay mechanic of the gear set. The Seska chest piece will also help you get close to the 6% critical hit chance cap, and when coupled with a Grupo backpack with the Vigilance talent will maximize your damage output. Vigilance does have its cut-off mechanic when you get shot, but using cover and a 4-tier Crusader's shield will ensure it is up for most of any encounter. There is plenty of flexibility on your second skill. Go with what you prefer. In this build I have coupled the shield with an Artificer Hive, which repairs your shield while the hive is sat on your back. The Artificer Hive comes with the Technician specialization, which also adds 1 skill tier for the shield and unlocks the linked laser pointer. This is needed for the build in order to proc the Heartbreaker's bonus, and for the talent on both of my weapons, Flatline. Flatline is one of the best weapon damage talents in the game, delivering 15% amplified damage. But if you want to find out the full ranking of weapon talents, then check out this video here. I would recommend running this build with 2 different weapons, one for getting up close and personal, and the other for mid to long range fights. In order to equip the linked laser pointer, you do need a weapon with a long rail. Size does matter apparently, which both the Vector and the Carbine 7 have. For attributes and mods, the aim is to get to the 60% critical hit chance cap first, and then stack as much critical hit damage as you can. There are a number of ways that you can upgrade this build as you continue to play the game. The named weapon Kingbreaker comes with the perfect flatline talent, delivering an additional 5% amplified damage, but personally, I don't like its slower fire rate. The biggest upgrade for me though would be to use the Memento backpack, particularly if you're a solo player. The backpack delivers 3 cores, which immediately buffs your armor to 1.5 million and your shield to tier 6 with a chunky 4.7 million of health, but this is without any stacks. Memento adds both a long-term and short-term buff. The long-term buff for this build adds 30% weapon damage, 3% armor regeneration and 30% skill efficiency, and for 10 seconds after you pick up a trophy you will gain a short-term buff of an additional 15% weapon damage, 5% skill efficiency, and 40% bonus armor on top of this. Most people have no idea how good skill efficiency is. Skill efficiency is a little like weapon handling, but on fucking steroids. It adds skill damage, haste, status effects, repairs, duration, and health, making it the best attribute for any skills. The second build is a build that every new player should have if they don't want to be kicked from incursion groups. The Strikers build. Strikers is the best DPS gear set in the game. Well, most of the time anyway. If you want to know when you shouldn't be using Strikers, then check out my video that looks into exactly that. Strikers gear set bonuses are awesome. Weapon handling improves accuracy, stability and reload speed. Rate of fire is a pure DPS buff. And Strikers Gamble is the best weapon damage buff in the game, because not only is it multiplicative, it also falls into its own damage bucket, separate from the normal total weapon damage bucket. Now, if all of this talk about multiplicative and bucket is leaving you scratching your head, then you need to watch my video on how damage works, which explains it all quickly and simply. I will leave a link in the description and at the end of this video. For now though, trust me, Striker's weapon damage buff is the dog's bollocks. At full stacks it provides a 65% multiplicative weapon damage buff, and with the backpack, which is an absolute must, this increases to 100%. The chest piece increases this to 200%, but for new players I wouldn't recommend that you use it, as maintaining more than 100 stacks in most content is difficult. Instead, you should run one piece of Seska and one piece of Grupo for your final 2 pieces of gear. The chest piece talent Obliterate to maximise your weapon damage output. For your starter weapon, I would recommend a FAMAS, which has a very high rate of fire and deals great damage. For its talent, I would start with Preservation. This is a DPS build, but if you're running 6 red cores, you might find that you need the armor regen and Preservation on top of the armor on kill from the gunner specialization. If you are still finding survivability a problem, then do roll some of the gear to armor cores until you find the right balance for you. Skills are very much personal preference. I tend to run with a Crusader shield, which can give me enough time to get to cover if I get caught out in the open, and a Reviver Hive. In terms of upgrades, the Coyote's Mask is a great option, which provides a nice damage buff to both you and your team. St. Elmo's is a great option due to its high critical hit chance and damage, and Ouroboros is a monster of an SMG with the highest fire rate of any weapon in the game. The final build is all about getting into the face of enemies and playing ultra aggressive. The build revolves around the Hunter's Fury gear set, which has some great bonuses. 15% weapon damage for SMGs and shotguns is perfect for the playstyle, as is the armor and health on kill. But it is the 4-piece bonus that is awesome. Apex Predator. This amplifies weapon damage by 20% on enemies within 15 meters, but killing enemies adds an additional 5% for 10 seconds, which stacks 5 times. In true Division 2 fashion, this doesn't deliver an additional 25% damage because each of the stacks is multiplicative with itself, resulting in around a 28% damage buff at full stacks. On top of this awesome buff, every time you're killing an enemy affected by the debuff, all enemies within 5 meters are disoriented, letting you chain kills while enemies are stun locked. The backpack and chest talents of the gear set are not bad. The chest increases the durations of stacks from 10 seconds to 30 seconds, which is a good buff and may help you keep them up throughout an encounter, and the backpack increases the range of the disorient debuff to 10 meters. But my recommendation is you start with 1 piece of Sokolov and 1 piece of Grupo for your chest piece and backpack, with the talents Obliterate and Vigilance. Because this build is a run and gun build where you are going to be in the firing line most of the time, I would recommend running 3 armor cores and a Crusader shield. I would also use the Technician's specialization for its additional skill core to get the shield to tier 4, the Artificer Hive for its shield repairs, and also enabling the linked laser pointer so you can use the same Vector SMG from the Heartbreaker build. The second weapon I'm running on this build is also a great one to farm for, the Mop, which comes with a 10% armor on kill attribute, making it a great way to top off your armor. I would also recommend upgrading the build with the Mementos backpack if you're playing solo, and the Ouroboros SMG, which makes nearly every build better. You can't go wrong with these 3 builds when you're starting out, but if you do want to try out other talents or understand how weapon damage works, then check out these videos here.